Hello, everyone. This is the part one of our debates with the 2021 papal candidates for the July general election. Today we have two candidates here, Garrett the first with two T's and Jackson the second. This debate's theme is the people. And now this debate, like the previous one, is formatted to where each candidate will have 60 seconds to respond to a question. And if another candidate likes, they can have a 30-second rebuttal. And the candidates may not rebuttal someone's opening or closing statement because that doesn't make any sense. All right. Right before this, I did a coin toss to see who goes first, and it will be Squeaky or Garrett first. Sorry. So go ahead with your opening remark. You have 60 seconds.
Um, I guess I'm the head of the Unum Claw Party, and here we. That's honest. That's honestly probably all. That's it. I'm just the head of the Unum Claw Party.
All right. Thank you. And Jackson the second, you may go ahead. You have 60 seconds starting now.
All right. So most of you guys probably know who I am. I'm Jackson II. I was a pope before. I was a former pope. I was actually the one that solved one of the biggest crises the church was going through, which was the lack of new people. I added a bunch of programs to make it easier for people to join. So I decided to rerun again to keep fixing things. There's some issues with the church with the council election, and especially with the big Biden party becoming a real threat to the church because it would basically make it impossible for anyone to get anything done and make it super easy to rig the elections or rig the council the new council in such a way to allow the big Biden party people to do basically whatever they wanted. So that was enough to motivate me to come on this debate and yeah, try to debunk all their stuff because they're
All
gonna
right, you have
destroy
10
the
more
church if they
seconds.
win.
Okay, is that your statement?
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna move on. Garrett the first, what would you do in your first week in office?
Um, I'm probably settle down for a bit, be able to observe for a while, watch the problems that have been going on, and then be able to come up with solutions. Be able to then fix said problems that arise. Yeah.
All right. Um, Jackson, do you have a rebuttal, or do you want to just go ahead and answer the question yourself?
I'll go ahead and answer my question.
All right. Do you need me to repeat the question?
No, I got it. So what I do in my first week in office is I would first start out by trying to educate people on the big Biden party and exactly what it's trying to do in more plain terms, because it seems like from a lot of their stuff, and especially a lot of their movements behind the scenes, that they're trying to kind of keep a lot of what they really want to do under the radar. So I would try to come at that. And then also one of the biggest things the church has right now is we have demonists among us. All right, they're like worms, man. They're getting in the church, and we got to remove them. We got to start educating people about what demonists are, how to find them, and really start a program to make sure people look out for everybody and look out to see demonists, and if they see them, to bring them up to certain people in the church so they can be removed.
Okay.
That's my statement.
That's quite an accusation. Okay. Um, Garrett the first. The next question. Why are you a better choice for the church than the other candidates?
Been around for a long time. I've been here for I don't know, actually, but it's been years, and I may not have been the most active, but I'm here now to be able to figure out what needs to get done and be the one to be able to fix the problems.
All right.
Is that all you have to say?
To say.
Um, okay, I'm gonna break the format slightly because you keep on mentioning problems, so I think the voters would like to know what are some problems that you see.
Well, as Jackson has mentioned, there's the Big Biden Party, who has been causing troubles and is a threat to the church. Coming up with a solution for
Okay.
them would be very important.
All right. Jackson the first or second, sorry. You may now go.
All right. Sorry. I think one of the biggest things that makes me better candidate, at least most of the other people running against me, is I have been Pope before, so know what I'm doing. Also, I'm pretty good at this kind of stuff. Uh, you know, won teen court best attorney in the state twice, so I'm pretty good at arguing with people. I'm pretty good at making good points, reading through legal stuff, looking like reading in between the lines, that kind of thing. Um, I think I'm better than specifically Dassifer because he's basically a pawn for the big Biden party to gain a seat by being a moderate, and then they're going to use him to enact more um, more, I guess, egregious policies to actually finally remove the council from existence, which would be bad. And I don't want to do that, so automatically makes me better than him because I don't want to destroy the church.
All right. Moving on. As Pope, you will serve as the people's representative in affairs dealing with the gods. How will you serve as Pope to bring people the word of the gods? Garrett the first.
What people want, I can deliver, I guess, as long as it is under a reasonable mean, and also still aligned with the church's morals, morality, ideals. And I would think I would be the person who I'm very open-minded to things that others would have to say. I would be able to deliver to what the people would want.
All right. Thank you, Garrett. You may now go, Jackson.
All right, so I think I can come out first with saying that I've actually had visions directly from Biden to me. Um, and one of the most important things is that if you actually look, one of Joe Biden's former occupations was as a politician, lawyer, author. If you notice the word lawyer, I won teen court for best attorney, which is another word for lawyer. So I already have that very strong connection directly with Joe Biden, who is, as you know, our top dog, top god. And I think that my ability to do that and really, have strong visions from Joe Biden would allow me to spread his gospel and spread his word very efficiently through the church and make sure everyone knows the good word of Biden.
All right. Thank you. This is also a reminder that you guys can do a rebuttal to anyone's point at some point.
I will rebuttal.
I mean,
I
you
got
don't
it.
have to, but I was just. So this next one here is: do you support the Big Biden Party's People's Council? And if not, do you have some alternative, or do you feel the whole endeavor is not needed? Squee. I mean, Garrett the first. Garrett the first.
I feel like alternatives can be achieved, should be done, especially since the Big Biden Party has been very mischievous, and I don't know exactly what that would be yet. I would be, I am very creative, and probably would be able to come up with something that could be done about it.
All right. Thank you. Would you like to respond to that, Jackson, or do you want to go ahead and make
I will.
your...
I'm going to go ahead and answer the
Okay.
question.
Go ahead.
Okay, so well, first off, I would like to say that I'm not opposed to the existence of the Big Biden Party. I've worked with them. I think the church needs to be open to new ideas. The real problem is that, I mean, look at this debate, for example. I mean, it's hard for us to negotiate a time for everyone to be online to even have this debate, and this debate only has 6 people in it, or that will actually be taking part in the debate, which I mean isn't a lot. The People's Council would basically make it impossible for really any change to be done in the church. and also it would allow the big Biden party to have a lot of leeway and a lot of power and basically doing whatever they wanted. It would make it easy for them to kind of sway um, sway the kind of vote in a certain way, because I mean, for example, they could just have the vote be held at some time that's like 3 a.m. for most of the people in the church, but is normal daytime for the people in the big Biden party because they're in Latvia. And that's kind of my biggest problem with it, is that it's just not going to work, and it's gonna make it really difficult for people to participate actively. It'll make it difficult for change to happen, and it'll make it too easy for a few people to gain massive power within the church. I don't directly like not support.
You're out of time at this
Oh,
point.
sorry.
Um,
Dang, tragic.
all right. The next question is also dealing with a Biden ready proposal. Um, there's been some talk of expanding the council even further from the 7 seats we currently have. If elected, would you work to further expand the council? Squeaky, go ahead.
I think as the church expands, it would probably be a good idea to be able to have a larger council, being able to make sure everybody has their ideals represented in each, I guess, election, and have everybody's ideals be in each office would allow more satisfaction between everybody. And so I would be willing to work with others to be able to then expand the party up, or the council, to then be able to allow for more members, and therefore be able to make sure everybody has their beliefs represented.
Okay. Thank you, Squeaky. Jackson the second, you may now go.
I think that well, first off, we should at least add 2 more seats to the council eventually to make it 9, because you can't have an even number because then ties could happen too easily. I think also sort of a compromise to the big Biden party's original goal, which would be to allow people to participate easier, would be to increase the frequency of council elections. That the idea would be that council members would change out more frequently because they don't play as an integral of a role or as big of a role individually as something like a pope does. You could have them switch out like more often, and it wouldn't hurt the church. It would allow more people to have their opinions, because I do think the council should allow to have people with should have, the goal of the council should be to represent people's everyone's position as equally as possible. So people from all over the church and all of the different ideologies should be able to have someone in the council who closely represents them. And I think the better way to do that would be to increase the seats a little bit and increase the frequency of elections slightly. Maybe have them be monthly or bi-monthly or something like that.
So, Jackson, the current amount of time a council seat or a councilor serves for is 90 days. So, are you proposing to have that or to make it even lower?
I don't think I think I can't give right now a specific time, like to how many days, because I think we would have to talk to lots of people, counselors, people within the church, people like regular people in the church, saying how often they think it makes sense. Because again, we don't have elections too often, because then it would be kind of hard to keep track of everything. But I do think having a shorter space would make things more interesting. One, because there would be more change happening in the church more often. It wouldn't be drastic change that would like destroy the church. Um, and it would allow people to hopefully increase participation, because there'd be more of a chance that regular people could win a council seat because elections happen more often.
All right.
Because night. Nope.
Or go ahead.
Let me do some really quick. Nope. So 90 days means there's only 4 council elections per year.
Yes, that is correct.
Which is not a lot. That means that someone has 4 tries a year to get onto the council. Taylor Rose, who's known as Pyros, I mean, he's lost 5. So, like, if for someone like him who's tried 5 times, that could be over a year of trying, which is a long time. Like, a lot can change in a year. So I think it would make sense to increase that number. I don't know an exact number of how many we can have per year. I think monthly would work pretty well, because it would give people enough time to do things and change the church in ways, but
So you're
not have them.
thinking 12 council elections a year.
I think that would be, at least off the top of my head right now, without talking to anybody specifically, that would be a good number. Because I think it would keep people from being in the council like for a super duper long time, like kind of stacking the council, and it would make it easier for just regular people who don't have a strong political standing already to get into the council.
That is definitely an interesting proposal that people will have to consider. Um, let's see. Let's move on. So this next question was kind of something that I asked you earlier, Squee, and that is, what do you see wrong with the church right now, and what would you do to fix it in the future?
So, not really sure. I'm gonna be honest. As I said, I've been around for a long time, but I've not really been active. So, but I'm here now and ready to learn and improve what needs to be improved upon. So, a lot of communication between just me and the people.
So are you saying
But
you're
I'm,
not really aware of what's currently going on in the church of Joe Biden?
uh, yeah,
So what how does that make you a good choice for the people?
I am a people person and ready to help out those who need it and be the pope that people would want.
All right. Jackson the second, you may now go.
I think an interesting problem that I've noticed with the church is actually somewhat of a it's a problem that has gotten worse slowly over time, which is that the church has pretty continuously moved towards more and more stability, and so the idea is that the church has gotten stabler and stabler, which is a good thing. But I think what has started to happen is now that it's gotten to the point where um, people are maintaining power, things are changing slower and slower to the point where it's starting to lose interest. So even though the church has members, we lost members over the past few weeks a little bit. People have left the church. The actual participation in the church is pretty low. I mean, most polls are only getting anywhere from 10 to 15 to maybe 20 responses. I mean, the church has right at 100 members almost, or more
Well,
like
I
50.
would also like
More
to
like 50.
remind you that usually only like registered voters
Yeah.
participate in the
But
polls,
even
and there's only 21 people who are registered.
but
So
even
we
then, I
actually have
think
pretty high participation in that regard.
but I think we could get more people to register to vote if we tried to make the church seem more interesting, um, by kind of not like making the church unstable, but just having things change quicker, having maybe power change hands more often, having more, kind of church-wide events happen, things like that to keep people interested in the church. Because right now, especially in the past little while, nothing has majorly changed. We've had pretty normal things, gods be made, a few random papal announcements, a few random like even the council has kind of stopped doing things as much because major bills aren't being brought up, so people are not paying enough attention. Statutes are um, coming up less frequently, and they're not as big. I think having more change in the church would actually be a good thing. And I think also a problem right now is kind of the big Biden party attempting to remove the council, which is an integral part of church function, which would even slow down change to an even lower point, which would probably make participation fall even farther.
All right. Thank you, Jackson. This next question is: with the passage of Article 14, candidates for council were required to receive a majority of the vote in order to be elected. Do you feel a similar measure should be enacted for all elected offices in the church? Garrett the first, go ahead.
I think a majority vote is a very fair way of electing. It means that it is what people want. It's what the majority of people would want for um, whatever actions that's going to be happened. And the majority vote, we were able to confirm, basically, I guess, where those who want that change to happen are able to have that change happen via the majority.
All right. Thank you. Jackson, would you like to rebuttal or just go ahead and answer the question?
I'm gonna rebuttal.
All right, go ahead. You have
I
30
don't think
seconds.
I don't think making everything be a uh, majority vote would work or be a good idea because it would make it really hard for a lot of things to get passed. It would make runoffs happen a lot. You might even have multiple runoffs per election. Um, it would, I think, and especially considering that the church usually has multiple, like lots of people and lots of parties running for each office and each position, I think a plurality for a lot of positions makes a lot more sense. I think in some cases, like the council, it works because you don't usually have multiple, like lots of people running for one seat. But I think in situations like the Pope, where you have 4 or 5 or maybe even 6 people all running at the same time, a majority would make things be hard to work out.
All right. Well, you kind of answered the question there, but you do also have another 60 seconds if you wish to respond to
Yeah.
that question.
I think the idea makes sense for the council. I really do. Because the council, I mean, most of the seats in the council right now, even though an election is upcoming in less than a month, are either running unopposed or have maybe 1 or 2 people running for the same seat, or 1 or 2 more people running in the same seat than the incumbent. Um, but I like for the Pope election, if assuming let's say 5 people end up actually going all the way to the end and are already on the ballot at the actual date of the election, I doubt that any one of them is going to get more than 50%. That would be pretty crazy. And so the idea is if you have a situation like that where no one gets 50%, how do you move forward? Do you drop the person with the lowest and then try again? And you just keep doing that and you have 4 or 5 elections to finally get to your final person?
The council one is arranged in a way to where it would be the
Top two?
well, no, it's not even done like that. It's like, well, yeah, it's the lowest vote getter is just removed from that round, and then the next round's everyone, and it keeps
And
going until there's 2 left,
I
or
think the
until
problem with
someone
that
gets a
is
majority.
then you get to the problem where it's not people voting for the candidate they like the most. It's just the candidate they like better than the other guy.
Yes.
Does that make sense? So you're not really solving the problem, it's just making the elections take longer. Now, again, I don't really think that's a big deal for the council because so far we've never had, at least in my time in the church, a large number of people running for one seat. So having a runoff election that takes 2 or 3 or 4 times that won't is unlikely to happen. But for something like the Pope or Archbishop or Diviner or a big position like that where lots of people usually try to run, that would just take a very long time. I think they could work on a smaller scale. I do not think they will work on a large scale for the church.
All right. I gave you a ton of extra time for that.
It's okay.
So, Garrett the First. What will you do if elected to create more activity in the church? What will you do to get more people involved?
Something that could be pretty cool and pretty fun is, besides just having the church service, there could be perhaps maybe even just church activities where everyone would be able to get together and do something fun, whether it be uh, discussing of the church or even just having some fun playing games. It would be a way to engage activity and also create better bonds between everybody in the church.
All right. Thank you. Jackson the Second, you may now go.
I think this is a similar question or problem the church had when I ran for Pope. And I will say that I didn't entirely solve it, but I definitely made a lot of work and progress to solving it. And I was able to do a lot in my couple months that I was a Pope before the general election. So I think, again, something I would do is similar to what Squeegee said. I would have more church-wide events and really just have the church do more stuff more often. I think the best way to get people involved is to have things happen in the church more frequently than they do now, like bigger things that seem more important, things that would get people really involved more than the 20 or so people that hold political power right now. Because right now, I think an issue that we're running is the people that are the most active in the church are also those with the most power, which is fine. But we also have, I think, a low percentage of people that are not politically affiliated that are actively involved in the church. And I think ways to solve that would be to make the church just have more things happen. So and have those things be easier for lots of people to get behind and decide to support or try to stop. I don't think there's a clear one singular thing that anyone could do to fix this issue. I think it would have to be sweeping changes and lots of small things that would all work to getting more people involved in the church.
All right. And now each of you will have 60 seconds to make your closing remarks. So, Garrett the first, go ahead.
It'll be funny. That is all.
Wow.
Okay.
Spoken like a true gentleman, Squib G.
Thank you. Jackson, you have 60 seconds. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I think I'm a solid candidate. I was a good pope last time. I'll be a good pope this time, assuming I win. Um, I do think we need to really start, as the church needs to start focusing more on exactly what the big Biden party is doing. We need to look out because, as I said before, Damonists are among us. They're all over the place. You need to watch your back. You need to look over your shoulder. You need to watch out for your neighbor. We really need to crack down on this. Um, and I think in general, I think that um, me becoming pope would allow for lots of good changes to happen to the church. Things would become more interesting. Things would happen more often. The church would become less stagnant than it is now. People would change power more frequently in, of course, democratic ways. Um, and we would also work to, unroot the daemonist weeds that grow among us.
All right. Thank you. Well, this concludes the first part of our papal debate. We will be having another one in the coming days that will include the candidates June the 1st, Taylor the 1st, Veda the 1st, and Dossifier the 2nd. So stay tuned for that.
I will also be in that. Join it twice.
We can talk about that after the fact. So thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.